allowed, so you can just cut that
It's
off
on the
any
website.
fire list. If anyone's
It's
like,
on
I
the
want sparklers
website.
at my wedding, it's not going to happen in Tahoe, Douglas.
Even
unfortunately.
cold sparklers?
Well, so that is a case by case. It depends. So that's why I would need to have it reviewed on your package. It also one of the things Dan brought up, which was good when after looking at the package, a lot of this has to do with we want you. So like for instance, fire pits, this permit is not valid during red flag warning days. So if you guys took a bunch of money for somebody who's guaranteed they're gonna have fire pits or they're gonna have all this, fire dancers and stuff like that, it might not happen if we're a red flag warning day. Like it's just no matter what, there's nothing that's gonna allow it. Yes.
Are heat lamps included in that kind of fire pit category?
Heat lamps are not included in that type of category, but we also, when we come to inspect a site, we do inspect the placement of those to make sure they're not too close to canopies, tree overhangs, things like that. So if you, just so really quick, just to go over this list, so I have the first page is just basically our general application and what it asks of you. The second page for us, at least Tahoe Douglas, our fees just increased August 1st. So that's our new fee schedule. Is there is now a special permit fee for pyrotechnics or any type of flame stuff. That does not include a fire pit for that, but that is any type of pyrotechnics, laser show, things like that. We also now have a late submission fee if it comes in late because we all have to review these, and sometimes we're going 60 miles an hour and have 12 other events going on plus fires and everything else. So taking the time to do that takes time away from us. So they're now, or we actually end up having to put in overtime. So just so you know that kind of we're recouping fees now. And then if you go into the next page, it's going to do general requirements for tents, canopies, and membrane structures. So it's going to give you everything, setbacks. It's going to tell you, like if it's a large, big enough tent, we're going to require, sorry, my brain just went. We're going to require engineering, that kind of stuff, not just a regular, pop-ups. The fact that you can't string too many tents together because then it becomes a large tent. So all that stuff's there. The next one's going to be for indoor convention type things. So big indoor, like weddings, parties, things like that.
What do you consider big?
So it just depends because the reality is depending on the space. So any indoor event, if you have more than 49 people, it's got to have 2 ways to exit. So once you get over 49 people, you have to have two exit ways, and so on and so on. So it just kind of depends, but it's basically, I say big event indoor conventions is because it's more of a convention space.
Yeah.
But that could be, the convention space inside of Harrah's, Harvey's,
Everline,
Hyatt, any of those places. Yeah.
And they're designed to accommodate people with exiting and fire extinguishers. And
So they're most likely they're already compliant then.
Yeah, well, and certain things like, if people want tents indoors and things like that, because sometimes people, if you bring a tent indoors, then it obstructs the flow of the sprinklers if there was an indoor fire, something like that. So there's all these weird little nuances and rules and reasons, and people are like, well, why can't I put up a pop-up inside? Well, now you've just made it so that area is a void space, and if fire happens, it's,
That makes
more
sense.
likely
Do
to
you
be there.
have Washoe County has a whole, I had to do a tent thing for Washoe County last year, and we had to submit a whole wind thing. Do you have that as well?
So that's also included. That comes with the structural engineering and being able to anchor a tent in place. Ours is a little different. We permit through development services, which is the building department. So planning, and it depends on how big it is. I mean, we're looking at venues that have large tents and outdoor stuff. You have heating. I know that some of the events in the spring and the fall, we'd be looking at that as well. But the anchoring is so it doesn't end up on the,
Yes,
the highway
exactly.
out there. So.
And there are, if you read through the tent stuff, it does talk more
talk
about that
the-
too. But
okay.
I think it was just a couple of days ago, we had an umbrella that
Oh yeah, that
went
can be
and
lethal.
it flew and knocked some woman out on Kingsbury. So,
Oh,
stuff happens, and that's the reason why we
Yeah,
we do what we do. And that
I
was just a
see.
small umbrella, but it was enough to knock her, a 79-year-old woman out.
oh wow.
So I know some of these things sound crazy, but there's reasons.
Yeah,
Like,
obviously.
whenever you see a warning sign of be careful for like the stupidest thing you've ever read, it's because somebody did it. You know? Right now, we're, at least for the Nevada side, we're reviewing our code cycles. It goes every 6 years, and we're reading over this stuff, and we're like, God, do we really have to put this in? Like, yeah, because somebody did it.
Somebody did it.
You know, but it's like, God, this is just so dumb. You
Yeah.
know? Okay, so then if you go on to the next couple pages, the first one is just for us. It's our general comments and conditions for all events. You know, fire code, everything must be to manufacturer specifications. You have to have all your fire certs, flame certs. You know, if you have any type of decor, it has to be, make sure that it's not flammable. You can only have, I think, less than 50% covered in like fluffy stuff, so that the whole,
Like the grass.
yeah,
type.
so the whole room isn't going to be combustible. And then if you go on to the next one, that's going to talk just about fire pits and their terms and conditions. And so just so you know, this is what you'll see on any permit you apply for when you get it. This is the terms and conditions it'll come with. Then the next one is pyro, open flame, cryo. So it's talking about even like load in of like via fireworks, things like that we have to inspect load in. We have to inspect everything from the manifest from the person who loaded it into the truck, if it is fireworks, things like that, how it's kept overnight, how it's safely kept, how cryo things are kept chained up so they can't fall over and have a, you know, somebody asked once, well, what happens if it falls over? I think I can't remember which movie it is, but one of those things falls over and it pops off and it blows across, like it could literally, it turns into a missile and can blow across a room and like literally kill people and knock them, you know, take people's heads off. So there, again, reasons.
There's a lot of things that's a very comprehensive list.
Yeah.
The only difference between Nevada and California is we're working off the California Fire Code, Building Code. There's a few other items in there, usually related to building wise. But for the most part, if you're looking at this list and going off of it, it's the same thing that we'd be looking
For
at.
safety standards.
Safety standards.
Because I know a lot of venues are worried about the coal sparklers, and it's a massive trend right now.
Well, I know, so for instance, I know like a lot of our nightclubs and stuff like that, we're getting into that because of VIP bottle service, and so it has been permitted case by case basis, dependent upon what they're using, again, what type of decorations they have in the place, all things like that. Everything's looked at to mitigate the risk of what's going to possibly happen.
So if a DJ is the one, usually it's DJs that buy these cold sparklers. Do they have to go through pyro?
They should be applying for a permit for the event.
The DJ?
Yes.
The
Well,
DJ or the venue?
Whoever's going to be
Whoever's
using,
going to be whoever's going to be using them, setting them off,
So
playing
the
with
DJ.
them. Yeah.
This is why I didn't buy them.
Yeah.
Then you
Since we're
charge.
talking about these things, I've read that you need a pyrotechnics license in California to operate cold sparklers. Is that true?
Yeah, so it's falling under 1026 NFPA.
What was that question?
1026
Oh,
NFPA.
sorry, I had read, we don't do them either because I had read you need a pyrotechnics license in California to do them.
Yeah, they just kind of changed and kind of re-upped the way they classify things, and there's different.
Can you talk in the mic for this question?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
you can't hear.
Sorry. So there's different levels of being certified for pyrotechnician events, and so if they had a license to go and set it off, that would be required.
So
But
they do
should-
have
they
to
should
get trained
know
on
that,
pyro.
Yeah, coming in
A license and a permit.
and a permit to do anything.
So for like the Nevada side, it's the permittee shall provide Nevada State Fire Marshal certificate of registration for fire performance, registration for indoor stage operator, propane, alcohol, liquid operator. Certificate shall be provided to the Tahoe Douglas Fire Department. So if yeah, so like being certified with the Nevada State Fire Marshal for us is mandatory for a lot of those types
Does
of
that
things.
include Reno, do you think?
I would assume so, but I'm not sure because since they're not in as high of a WUI area as we are,
Oh, yeah.
it may not be exactly the same.
Okay, so I would just write the Reno
Yeah.
department
Yeah,
and
and
ask
ask them
them.
for-
Okay,
yeah.
is that Sylvia?
Yeah, you could reach out
Okay.
to Sylvia. She'd probably help you.
And
So I
then
would
the
just
final
tell
thing.
you that you have to do the permit in advance,
Yes.
so at least 30 days.
So you have to
no,
do
we
the,
do 10 working days, so 2 weeks basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's just, again, so we have time to look it over. So we have time to come, because honestly, we don't
Have to
want
come and
to
ins-
we don't want to stop your event from happening. We know you guys are
In
bringing
the
tourism here. You're making lots of money. We don't want to do that. What we and we don't want to ruin someone's wedding. We want to try to work with you. So if you give us enough time to work with you, then we can try to come up with a solution if something on your list isn't proper or we deem to be unsafe.
Right.
So I guess venues you're gonna have to ask the
Well, I was also
DJ.
gonna say you have to get permission from the venue too.
Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Some venues will
Absolutely.
say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
there's a
honest-
few that are like absolutely no cold sparklers.
So,
Period.
and that's where it kind of runs into where you get kind of stuck in the middle. You're the permitter for that event and ultimately responsible for whoever shows up with something that might compromise what you're trying to do. So they need to check with you to make sure that it's okay, that you've gone through the proper channels, and that they're even allowed to do it.
So I guess planners and venues you gotta ask
Yeah.
because you could lose your license if they're not compliant.
Styrofoam.
You have a question?
I'm curious about on private property, people's residential homes.
So
Private
for
property.
us, for Tahoe Douglas, we make people pull permits for fire and or anything in
Like
their.
a fire pit in their
Yes.
backyard, they're gonna say, well, I can have a fire in my backyard.
We don't allow that in Tahoe Douglas.
Right.
You even if you have it in your home, in your backyard,
If you're
personally.
having it, if you're having a wedding or a roof setting.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
Douglas County.
That's Douglas County.
Mhm.
How many people don't know this?
A lot of people.
We find out when we respond to calls.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
they find out.
And a lot of this stuff, it's gonna be in your city ordinances, it's gonna be in the fire code.
But nobody reads. Nobody
No,
looks.
nobody
Stuff.
does. You're right. I didn't know.
That's why we listen.
Between a wood fire pit and a propane fire pit, because the propane doesn't throw out sparks.
So repeat what she said
So
in your answer.
propane fire pit and a wood fire pit. A wood fire pit is never allowed in Tahoe Douglas. Propane is because it has open flame, because you have drunk people hanging out around it.
Right.
We have to make sure that it's properly set back, that you have a fire extinguisher next to it, all that kind of stuff.
And what
I
about,
haven't used mine this year.
For personal use in Tahoe Douglas, we also make you get a permit.
Oh.
Wood
Uh-oh.
fire pit's not even allowed in the winter in Tahoe Douglas?
Ruh-roh.
In the winter, yes,
Yeah, so it's not allowed this time of year.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Wood fire pits in the city are not allowed,
yes,
period.
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
So, like, let's say Edgewood has that big, long fire pit. Do they have to get a permit every single event
Annually, they do.
annually?
So annually, and they've actually had a fire start from that.
What?
So because somebody was playing with things
Stupid.
around it, and then the wind
It's
picked it up and
this.
took it over. Yes, and the wind picked up the paper and took it right over to the beach side and caught that. So I mean, again,
Yeah.
it sounds stupid. It sounds like
it's-
we're being like over copying it,
You
but
have to
there's
up here.
we see it happen all the time.
It's
There's
because
reason.
somebody was drunk.
Yeah, and honestly that's
Or
always the
alcohol.
I mean, it's like you said, all it takes is a napkin to hit
Sure.
something that's an open flame. Sterno cans were a big one underneath chafing dishes and things inside a
Oh.
tent.
Do you have to have a permit for sterno?
And it's not.
Okay.
But you don't like it.
Don't like it. Rather see electric or some other.
Because
other
there's a lot of
option.
sterno around
And
this
there's a
city.
There's a lot of sterno I
Yeah,
see.
there's a
Lot of
lot of
sterno.
rules that pertain to that and how it's used and where it's used.
Oh my gosh. So the DJ definitely has to be pyro trained, and they have to get a permit, and they have to tell either the planner or the venue. The venue definitely needs to know.
Yes.
They have to sign off on whatever's going to happen at the venue.
Oh my gosh, you guys,
That
you
would
gotta
be part
ask
of your
every
inspection
time.
there.
No, we do. Styrofoam. Styrofoam, very
Yes.
popular.
clarify, because you said, special event permit, like, so the $300, and then you said something about yearly as opposed to per event?
That's for an actual venue like Edgewood, not for planners.
Oh, no, I meant.
She's a venue.
I'm a venue.
Oh, okay.
In Genoa.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So,
So we do annual. So I don't know what East Fork does down there because that's a different district.
okay.
But like we
All right, East
up
Fork.
here annually, we go and we check like Zephyr Cove, Round Hill, all the places that have in our district have the outdoor fire pits. We check them annually, make sure they're safe, make sure nothing's busted. You know that they have all the proper everything in. Make sure that everything is in place where it should be, basically. Sorry.
No, I speak, I get it. Yeah, we just don't have any fire pits or anything like that on site, so.
Okay, gotcha.
Avoid it completely.
Yeah, well, that's one way to get it out.
That was one way.
I've had renters show up with their own little coal it's like.
Oh my God.
Indoors, I'm like, no. So,
Again, people like the.
Stupid. It's the hair
I'm
dryer
on
in the
vacation, darn
bathtub.
it! I paid for this. I should be able to do whatever I want.
Oh my gosh. So okay, so I'll write East Fork and then I'll write Reno.
And I'll, Tracy, if you could maybe give out our contact info to the group.
Okay.
If anyone has any
Do you have an
questions.
Instagram?
Yeah, always just ask. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so, smaller weddings might not trigger even any permits or anything for us, at least in the city. Bigger stuff where you start getting into tents and
Correct.
other items, then you're looking at
Yeah.
going through planning, and it has to be not just approved through us, but through the
So
city.
yeah, because what if you want the cold sparklers in the tent? Then
No,
what?
can't do it in
Oh, that's
the.
never happening.
Yeah.
No.
Right, it's right in the code. No,
That's never
no
happened.
fire.
Are cold sprinklers actually fire though? Or-
They still can catch stuff
Yeah.
on fire.
There's
They
an
have an
Instagram that's
explosive
going around
reactive-
and caught the whole roof
Yeah.
on fire.
Yeah.
Killed
They
a
had
bunch
flowers,
of
They
people.
hung flowers on the top.
Yeah.
They had the
Oh.
feathery.
Caught it on fire.
Yeah, did you see that video?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It
yes,
was horrible.
yeah, that's
I was like,
crazy.
oh my god, what happened to all those people?
Yeah.
They
Like, people
died.
Yeah,
died
that was horrible video.
That couple had to run away.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so everything we do, everything we look at is so that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And when we say no, it's not because we're being
Trying to be
mean.
jerks.
No, it's in the fire code, and somebody has gotten hurt or died because of it.
Yeah.
And that's just and obviously you want a safe event for your guests, and there's other options to doing that. There's great
The
lighting
foam
now.
lights.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Please.
they,
That's-
laser shows and lighting, has come a long way. So, there's other options that
Yeah.
eliminate fireworks.
So you're not a fan of the cold sparklers, really?
No, just operationally, somebody can do something that
Operationally, somebody drinks too much and does something dumb.
it does somebody dumb.
Well, how many little kids went like this? You can put your hand over
I mean,
it.
we were all kids, right? How cool were fireworks and
Yeah.
fireworks, you
Lisa
know?
doing this. I have a scar
Yeah.
on my foot.
How big is the fire code?
Big.
This-
Like compared, because like OSHA regs are like this big, and it's literally full. Of, everything in OSHA regs is an example of what stupid people do.
Yeah. We have our codes go like 10.1, 0.3, 0.5, 0.6, 0.2, 0.4, and then there's one every direction because of it keeps lining it out, lining it out, lining it out.
Stupid people did
Yeah.
this, so now you have to learn about it.
Correct.
Yep.
The last time I heard you speak, you brought up an example that happened to be my event about tents and permits over at Stagecoach.
Which one was that?
That was the Tahoe 200.
Oh yeah.
And, so I checked with them this year, and they had.
Yeah, we were all good with that this year.
I
Thank
just
you.
want to make sure it was all good.
Yeah,
this
no,
year,
we were all
'cause
good
that
this
was
year.
So embarrassing.
Yeah,
that
no,
day.
that was. I mean, again, they didn't know. It was the first time it coming through there. Really, that we were aware of it. So.
I know, but you were describing the event. I'm leaning over to my boss, going, "That's ours."
Oops. That's ours.
It was a event with many tents and many generators and many cooking things and
Oh, wow.
all over without
We had
permits and
no
just
permits for.
yeah.
They just happened to be doing an
Yeah.
inspection somewhere.
Somewhere
close
nearby
by.
and real. It was
Stop
in the Stagecoach
by.
parking lot. And we go by, we're like, what is going on here?
This is not compliant.
Do generators require a fire permit?
Generators, if depending on, not like for an event, but it would be part of the package when we check the event. So like if you, most of the time, any of these big tented events have a big generator, so the generator has to be set back 20 feet, it has to be grounded, it has to have a fire extinguisher, so that's in here too, like, so it's not, it doesn't have to be, I mean, like if you were installing a generator, and that would not be something for
But
you
like
guys.
smaller events where you just bring
No.
in a little portable
No,
generator,
but
you
it-
don't need a fire permit.
No, but if it was part of an event permit, we would inspect
Yeah.
it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
So
we would always want you to have an extinguisher next to it and have it grounded. And
Yep.
Because the last time I heard you guys talk at NACE, I got a fire blanket for every one of my DJs.
That's awesome.
I don't have cold sparklers though. I don't think I will
Better safe
ever
than
get
sorry.
them. But
Yeah,
yeah.
so the items in there, if you were to submit a set of plans to our planning or to Tahoe Douglas, it would have all those items listed on it.
Can I
where
get
they're
that
gonna
in PDF?
Yeah.
Possibly.
I
Yeah.
can send this all to you too.
Awesome.
I'll
That'd
send
be
you what I gave
amazing.
out, and then you can send them all our information. And
Okay.
yeah,
And so because it's this district, most of it, because obviously Genoa is Douglas County, so this permit information is accurate as well as down in that district as well.
no, because it's a different fire district down there.
Okay,
So a
You're
lot of
East
it,
Fork.
as far as the international fire code goes, it's all going to be the same. But yeah, so.
But she
roughly,
needs to contact East Fork.
Yeah, East Fork. If there's any nuances or any differences they have, it might be a little different.
okay, perfect, thank you.
The code's specifically calling out that all electrical equipment needs to be grounded, but there's tons of electrical equipment that isn't grounded.
Yeah, I think it's per how
It would depend on what
What is it?
what it is. I mean, a lot of times you plug something in, whatever's generating that power is grounded. It may not have a ground on it.
Correct.
Just a two-prong on
Correct.
it.
Yeah, there's tons of
Yeah,
cheap
there's a lot of
electrical
stuff like
equipment out
that.
there. So that's
and
fine.
It's designed to stand alone.
Yeah.
But if it has, like
That's
an
why I just
extension
want
cord
mine.
as a ground on it, it's going to be grounded back to
Yeah.
whatever.
one of the big generators that has a big stake. You got to put in the
Exactly.
ground, things like that. But like
Oh.
obviously a piece of equipment from the DJ that plugs into
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Just clarifying that.
Anything else, you guys? They gotta run.
yes.
I was curious about talking about, decorative materials need to meet NFPA 701 and kind of that whole fire resistant process. Like, I feel like not all decorative materials.
No.
Like, where does this line come in? Like, these tablecloths do not meet that. Right?
Well, so no,
They
so
probably
absolutely
do.
they do. So they've either
They do. It's creative
They
coverings.
have to give certs as well. So
Okay.
they either have been sprayed with the resistant spray. So there are sprays you can use too.
Oh,
like,
yeah, for sure.
as you spray on wall coverings, or they actually have listings on them.
So that's a blanket. Every single
Yes.
item of decor coming into a wedding
And
needs to meet this.
He
certification.
brings up a really good
a
point.
lot of stuff comes from China that's.
Yeah,
That's-
because we get a lot
that's
of
it.
linens
So
that come
that's where you come from.
just
where
out
it's
of the
not-
box.
Yeah, and but
Oh my
that.
God.
And that's where we come in with a lighter and go, well, I'm going to flame test this then. And if it lights immediately, then sorry, you got to take it all down.
Yeah, so I have
so
a
many
kind of a
weddings.
follow-up question there. If a
So
material
many
is
weddings.
inherently flame retardant, do we still need to do that patch test with the fire department, or are we good to just show
If
that?
I have the flame certification that says it's okay, I will not take a piece of it and
Okay.
set it on fire unless it's been washed 50 times and I can tell by touching it
Yeah.
that it no longer feels like flame retardant material feels.
But anything that we've sprayed, we should do that patch test with the fire department before we put it up at a venue.
Correct.
Cool, thank you.
So like your draping and all that?
Yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah, because like I do a lot with I can't think of the name of the company out of Reno, but they come and-
Creative coverings.
Yeah, he's got all his. He has like a dossier for me every time, and he gives it, and he's like, "This is everything we're using,"
Yeah.
and and it's really well put together, and it makes my life easier. So I love working with him.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't tell you his name, but he's great.
Yeah, we've been asked for that certificate before. It's like, here you go.
Yeah.
Here's the certificate
Yeah.
for this
And
material.
it's nice when you're working with like tent venues or tent companies. Like we do get a lot of celebrations over here. They've got all their engineering already on the tents. They've got their certifications from the state fire marshal. Their anchoring, everything's in place. So when I look at it, it's like great. I don't have to ask for anything else.
So
It's
these
here.
newer ones that
Go.
just bought, we need to talk to them.
Yeah. So go with somebody who's reputable. It might be a little bit more, but they've already gone through the process of making sure that what they're using meets the standards, and you're not going to get to a venue and go, nope, can't use this.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Really informative.